Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and it is your Brighton versus Manchester United preview show. Lots to talk about that. I just must say that we should talk about transfers very quickly at the start. Alex Telles, as reported this morning, just before I came live there actually, that these talks are at a peak now. And apparently it's going to be very close. So let's see what happens with that in the next few hours and next sort of 24 hours maybe. But Brighton versus Manchester United, obviously massive game for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Big decision to make around Paul Pogba and a few other positions as well. Also, this is a game that Solskjaer can't lose. He can't even draw. We've got to win this game. But I just want to say as well, we did a show last night, brilliant show, Flex, me and KG, saying that Manchester United can't afford Sancho because they've got to sell players. And it's interesting, we spoke about that last night, and then today there's a lot of it in the press. Even Sky Sports are talking about it. I think that the issue here is that Manchester United do need to sell to buy, which is why we were talking about it last night. It's extremely obvious. But Man United have got this issue. I think it was Sky talking today or another outlet that people have spoken to Lingard. They're interested in Lingard, but not at the wages and price he's available at. And Lingard's not interested in taking a pay cut. Now, I'm not saying that's anything against Lingard. I think that's the same with Jones and Rojo and a few other Manchester United players. But you have been saying this for years. Why are Manchester United keeping crap players on contracts and not bringing better players in? Manchester United have made a conscious decision over the last few years to keep the crap because it's cheaper to keep the crap than to get rid of it and buy a better player. And when I talk about the crap, I mean, I'm going to be blunt here. I don't see any point in not being blunt anymore. You know, yeah, there's reputations and players that you like, but it's 8 years since we won a title. It's 8 years since we were near a title. So why should we not be blunt? Why do we have to, dress it up? These players are on hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. I'm sure they can deal with a little bit of criticism from some of the fans in relation to how the board are running the club. To be honest, I don't even blame the players. I blame the board. So when you've got a situation like last summer, when Juan Mata could have walked out for free and we could have bought in Donny van der Beek or someone like that last summer, what did we do? We gave him £8 million a year for the next 3 years. When we had an opportunity to let Phil Jones go, we gave him £4 million a year for the next 5 years. And this is a conscious decision by the board. They consciously do this so they don't have to buy a centre-back. So they don't have to buy a midfielder. Let's keep what we've got because it's cheaper to do it. It's another business decision again. And you get people saying, well, why don't we do what Juventus did or Barcelona did? Why don't we terminate their contracts? Phil Jones has got 4 years left on a contract worth £4 million a year. He'd have to agree with it and we'd have to give him 16 million to go. Same with Juan Mata. He's got 2 years left on a contract that's got 8 million on it. That's 16 million pounds again to get rid of this player. You cannot get your head around the incompetence at this football club. And the biggest issue of all, and United Arena was on about this on Twitter today. Spot on. Absolutely spot on. These players, like Phil Jones, like Juan Mata, like Marcus Rojo, that we pay £180,000 a week to, there's only probably 90% of football clubs in Europe can't afford those wages. They're paying players as good as Phil Jones and Rojo £10,000 to £30,000 a week. We massively overpay average players and then we can't sell them and then we can't buy. So we keep them because it's cheaper to keep them than to let them go for nothing. And the cycle continues. This is really interesting stuff to me because it's like we moan about not signing Sancho. We moan about taking ages to buy players. And we moan about them not backing the manager. But there's actually a real undercurrent here. A real undercurrent about why this doesn't happen. You call it the deadwood. It's not just a word. It's a vice round the neck of Manchester United Football Club. Because we can't get rid of these players. Because we keep them ourselves. It's a disgusting situation, again brought on by these negotiators who couldn't negotiate themselves out of a brown paper bag with a bazooka. They're idiots. And they need exposing because they're absolute idiots. Their football business decisions are idiotic. Absolutely idiotic. And yet, we're hysterical. And yet, we need to trust the process. The process is broken. It's a broken process. You're not putting it back together. Sack them, get a new process. It's just ridiculous. It's not a joke anymore. Like, every day, different angles come out about the incompetence. And this is real. This is really happening. Oh, Juan Mata can walk out the door for free. No, give him 8 million over the next 3 years. A year. And oh, we can't get rid of him now. Well, because nobody bloody wants him. No one wants Phil Jones at that price. People want Phil Jones at 20 grand a week, not 80. Are you still 90% on Sancho? I pray that you are right, says Maxwell. I mean, I am. If you were Ollie, would you resign if you were in his shoes and weren't given the players you need to protect your reputation at the club? What do you think, says Dylan Fitzpatrick. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's reputation in world football is not going to be damaged by staying at Manchester United. I mean, he got relegated with Cardiff and he managed Mulder. It's not... I don't think it's the reputation. I don't think Ollie would will resign, and I don't think I would, to be honest with you. But look, let's take it into the Brighton game, because that's what we're previewing here. Brighton against Manchester United at Brighton, Saturday lunchtime. Must-win game for Solskjaer. I think if we don't win this game, if we draw this game even, there's going to be a hell of a lot more pressure on Ollie, which is what I don't want to see. He's got some really big decisions to make. Brighton beat Newcastle very convincingly last weekend. I watched the game against Chelsea. They lost 3-1, but I felt they were the better team. And Chelsea just had a little bit of the rub of the green and ended up getting the 3 points. And it was a good 3 points for Chelsea. I thought Brighton were very good in that game. They'll be very good against us as well. We're going to have to be on our game. And Ollie's going to have to get the right selections right. And I think it's going to be very interesting what he does. Scott McTominay cannot be anywhere near that starting lineup. Your decisions are very simple in the midfield. Do you play Fred or Matic as the holding midfielder? I think it will be Matic. And then what do you do with your midfield ahead of that? Do you play Pogba and Bruno, or do you play Van der Beek and Pogba, or do you play Van der Beek and Bruno? For me, I think it's going to be close. I think he's got a big decision on Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba has had COVID-19. He did not look fit against Palace. Van der Beek looked very good against Luton, and Bruno looked sharp as well. I personally think it wouldn't be a bad idea to go with Matic, Van der Beek and Bruno, because all of them look ready, and Pogba to me doesn't look ready. Whether he's had a good week or not in training, is he ready to play in a big game on Saturday? We can't afford to have a half-fit Paul Pogba. We can't afford to have an inconsistent Pogba. If Pogba's on his game and Pogba's ready, you pay Pogba. If he isn't, go with Van der Beek and go with Bruno. I think he'll go with Pogba and Bruno, but I'm just saying he might want to go Van der Beek and Bruno with Matic behind. And Fred's a little bit unlucky in me. Centre-back, I've put Eric Bailly in there. I was thinking about it today. I very nearly put Lindelof. I think he might pick Lindelof. Ollie's done this before. Remember when we played against Chelsea in February in the league and we beat them? And Eric Bailly was superb. And then straight after that, Lindelof was fit. And he you know... If you're going to drop Eric Bailly for playing well in the league against Chelsea when Lindelof's fit, you're surely going to drop Eric Bailly for Lindelof when he's played well in the Carabao Cup game against Luton reserves. Now, to me, Lindelof just shouldn't play. He had a dreadful performance against Palace. You should get dropped for that. Eric Bailly should be given the chance. That's why I've put him in, and I hope Ollie's going to do that. But look, it's all on Ollie to get these selections right on Saturday. I think the team on the right is right, but I wouldn't be surprised if he starts Lindelof and not Bailly, which I think is wrong. For many reasons, none more so. I don't like Maguire and Lindelof as a partnership. The goalkeeper situation, I don't think it's even as big as some people want to make it out. Henderson played well against Luton. De Gea didn't do anything wrong against Palace. It would be harsh to drop De Gea for Henderson. And also, we are playing Brighton again midweek next week in the Carabao Cup. So Henderson will play in that game. So to me, there's no need to drop De Gea. It's too soon to do that. De Gea doesn't justifiably get dropped. And Henderson's going to play in a couple of days after this anyway. So to me, the goalkeeper thing's not a problem. The front three has obviously got to be Rashford, Mason, and Martial, and Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw pick themselves at the moment. Hi Mark, why don't we introduce incentive systems like killing sheets and goals for the Deadwood? Also, why did we not swap Sanchez for Skriniar, says Karan. I mean, you know, Ollie doesn't like Skriniar by the looks of it. As bad as Lindelof was last week, you can't pick Eric Bailly in a must-win game, says Robert McCormack. Think people forget how many mistakes he has in him. And Crystal Palace was a wake-up call. Time to step up now. We can't afford to lose points against such teams. Ollie should play Van der Beek instead of Pogba, says Rahut. I mean, look, I would not be surprised if he doesn't pick if he doesn't pick Bailly and he picks Lindelof. Because as much as I would pick Bailly, and I'd pick him for attribute reasons, he's good in the air. He's got very good aerial stats, Eric Bailly, and he's quicker than Lindelof. So that, to me, means he's going to be a better partner to Maguire. But let's not rewrite history here. Eric Bailly is not Van Dijk, he's not Varane, he's not Koulibaly, and he never ever will be. Eric Bailly at his best is probably sort of around, I don't know, I don't even know where I mean, he's not an amazing centre-back is what I'm trying to say. But he is better than Lindelof in what we're trying to do in the short term. What we needed to do and what we haven't done, and we're going into a season with this, the centre-back partnership is very important. We haven't bought a centre-back, which we should have done. Centre-back for Manchester United is a weak area. But I just don't think Lindelof should start. And another reason I wouldn't start Lindelof is that as we take it into the tactical analysis of this game, the way Brighton will approach this game is that they'll probably play 3-4-3. Their front three, which could be Connolly, Trossard, and I think it was Marpe played against Newcastle. The way Brighton play is they like to... Potter, you know, call him Harry Potter. He's a good manager. I thought Brighton would get relegated last year, and they defied that. They're a good footballing team with not household names, which absolutely identifies the fact that Potter's a good manager, because he does it with a team that you think must go down, and then you watch them play. They're well drilled. They're a proper footballing side, and he's a very, very good coach. So the way Brighton play is they try to pass the ball out and they try to press high up the pitch, especially the front three. The way Man United beat them in the summer at their place, and the way we beat them at Old Trafford around a year ago, I think it was end of October, November. Everyone said they were going to come and beat us, and we wiped the floor with them. I think, was it 4-0? It could have been, I remember that game, it could have been 7-8-0. Mason Greenwood, Martial and Rashford, if we can get them on the ball quick, will cause their back three big problems. They're not particularly quick, and United have got players that can run at people. I think we can beat Brighton, and we can beat them quite comfortably. I think actually Brighton don't have many teams they don't want to face, and I think United are probably one of their weakness, because we've got a quick front three and we've got players in our midfield who can, like Bruno and Van der Beek and Pogba, can hit very accurate balls to get to our front three and hit them on the break, and I think that is our strength. But what we need is people who can play the ball out the back quickly, because Brighton will press us high up the pitch. Their midfield will be energetic. If you can bypass that quickly, you can get at their back line. And with the players that we've got, we can create a lot of chances. I think there's going to be goals in this game, and I think we'll win it 3-1, 3-2. I think there'll be a lot of goals in it. I mean, Saturday lunchtime games, they're always a little bit, you never know. I think there's goals in it. I think it suits United. It's not a team we're going to have to sit back against. It's not a team we need to play defensive against. It's a team that's going to want us to play football. I think we need to press them high up like they're going to press us. They like to pass out from the back. They've not got household names. They can make mistakes, and if you press them high up, I think we can make them make mistakes in their own half. You're halfway to the goal then, and I think when they're pressing us high up the pitch, we can bypass that. So I think that's the way United need to approach this. I also don't think that Brighton, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Brighton are particularly good at set pieces. So that could be very important. I mean, this is where Harry Maguire needs to step forward. He had a header against Luton again, didn't he? He wins headers in situations he should score headers. £80 million, and I was like, I can't wait to celebrate all these goals from Harry Maguire from corners. And he's just not producing. We need to start seeing more goals from Harry Maguire, because we've got players who can put good crosses into the box. So yeah, I think it'll be probably 3-2, 3-1 against Brighton, and we will win. And we desperately do need to win. But it won't be an easy game, and I don't want to disrespect Brighton, because I think they will give us a game, and they're more than capable of beating us if we have an off day. If we turn up like we did against Palace, they'll beat us. I think Brighton can beat Palace. I think that there's no difference. In fact, I think Brighton are a better footballing team than Palace, and Potter is a better footballing coach than Hodgson. So if Palace can do that to us, Brighton definitely can. So we've got to be on it. And I think if we are on it and we play to our best, and I was encouraged by what I saw from Greenwood and Rashford and Bruno in them 10 minutes against Luton. If we can show that sharpness, then I think that we can get what is absolutely essential 3 points against Brighton on Saturday lunchtime. But we've got to get it. We've got to go and get it, because if we don't, then what is a very toxic time for Manchester United at the moment becomes almost unbearably toxic, because you'll have criticism of the players and the manager. On top of that, all this other stuff that's going on around transfers and the Glazers and what is a lot of frustration. What I would say is I saw the red card for the Brighton player last week, Bazuma, isn't it, against Newcastle. I thought it was a little bit harsh, but he did get a red card. He's not going to play, and he's one of their better players in midfield. So Brighton's midfield is weakened by not having that player from the red card. Very energetic player, very mobile, which, will benefit Manchester United than not having him. It's an interesting game, this. So they're a very well-run club with clear style and plan versus a badly run club full of much more talented players but less joined-up thinking, says Gareth Harwood. And I think you're right at the moment. I'm not, I think that what we need on Saturday is a galvanising performance where those of us who want Ollie to succeed and appreciate these players, we need something to back the manager and back the players with. If we win 7-0 on Saturday, the first thing I will do is celebrate the win with Ollie and the players and say well done, and then I'll go straight into the next sentence and say up yours the Glazers, because again, there is evidence that this team can do it if you give them the players they need. This is, I'm not worried about winning and the Glazers going, oh, we don't need anybody. We're past all that. We're Manchester United, for God's sake. This whole, oh, I hope we don't win well at the weekend because then they'll think we don't need Sancho and a centre-back. Bollocks, we do. We do. We know we do. United fans aren't stupid. They're not getting away with what they've done this transfer window. It's not going to get dropped anymore. I think there's a real awakening in the fan base about wider things that are going on in the club. That first 2 minutes of the video where we're talking about how United will keep a crap player at the club because it's cheaper than buying a better player, because it's all about business. Oh, we'll keep him here even though he's totally shit, and we'll give him a 20 million contract over the next 5 years because it's cheaper than letting him go and spending 50 million on a good player. The lack of ambition in this football club is infectious amongst the bankers who run it. All they're bothered about is the bottom line. It's like, can you imagine Man City or Liverpool or Chelsea? And I want to use a different player here. So let's not use Phil Jones or Mata or anybody else. Let's use Marcus Rojo, right? Can you imagine this conversation at Manchester City, right? Marcus Rojo, Pep, Marcus Rojo, do you want to use him? No. Well, I think that we will keep him, though, because I'm going to give him a 3-year contract on 4 million a year, 80 grand a week, because that's over 3 years, that's a 12 million outlay on his wages. And it means that we keep him instead of getting rid of him and buying a decent player. And Pep goes, hold on a minute. I want to win the league. You're going to keep a player I don't want to be here because it's cheaper than buying a better player. Yeah. Right. Okay. Why am I here? But that's what Manchester United do. And that's not just Rojo. That's 5, 6, 7 other players that we've kept at this club because it's cheaper to keep them at the club than buy somebody else. That's the mentality of our football club. The people running our football club, their mentality is, I'd rather give a contract to a player that's not good enough than let them go and have to spend a bit more on a better player. That's what we do. That's what we do. It's not speculation, it's what we do. We did it last year with Pereira and Jones and Mata. It's what we do. We give contracts to players that are visibly not good enough because it's cheaper to keep them than buy another player. And then when they keep them, and a year later, they're like, oh shit, we've got a load of crap players here that we can't get rid of. Because people are like, David Moyes rings up and says, I wouldn't mind Phil Jones. But, all right, he's on 80 grand a week. He wants to give him 20 grand a week or 30 grand a week because he's an injury prone risk. They don't want to give him 80 grand a week. And he's got 4 years. How is this Solskjaer's fault as well? How is this Solskjaer's fault? How is it Solskjaer's fault that he's inherited a football club full of deadwood on contracts he never gave out, on contracts that he never authorised? Like, people say, well, Phil Jones signed his contract in February. Ollie was an interim manager then. You don't pick up the phone and go, Phil Jones, do you want a 5-year contract on 4 million a year? That's been worked on for ages. That was worked on before Ollie came here. And then people say, well, what about the Mata one in the summer or the Pereira one? What makes you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gets the final say on contracts? Manchester United, Mourinho said this. The football people aren't making the football decisions. Like, do you think Ed Woodward said to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last summer, Juan Mata's out of contract, I'm thinking of giving him 8 million a year? I guarantee you Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said, well, if you let him go, though, we could get a better, younger player. Nah, I'm not listening to you about that. You don't know who makes the decisions on the contracts, but what we do know is that we continually do this. And I've heard many of you say this. We just give contracts out to save money because we don't want to buy a better player. Business, not a football club. Did you see the YouTube video of Evra looking pissed, but he defended the Glazers and the past managers but attacks the football agents as Gentleman's Lab? Look, I thought Patrice Evra's video was great, but like anything in life, it's not without criticism. I mean, look, KG was on about it last night. Is it the Glazers' fault or is it the agent's fault? Well, I'm sorry, it is the Glazers' fault, because if I run a business and I see somebody doing shit things like they should have done over the last 8 years, then they should have sacked those people a long time ago. They're happy to go along with the dividends coming in. All they want, the Glazers, is the dividends. They're not bothered about how the football clubs run. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has nothing to do with contracts. He's confirmed it himself, says MS Smiley. Well, I didn't want to speculate that because I don't know whether that's factually correct. But I would have thought that was correct. I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Jose Mourinho, Louis van Gaal actually has any involvement in contract renewals. And the reason I don't think that is because if you think about Martial and David De Gea and Fellaini, those contracts were dragging on for ages and ages, and they basically nearly all went out of contract. Martial and De Gea went to the last year. Fellaini went to out of contract and then signed one. And I remember Mourinho saying at the time that he wanted to give Fellaini a contract, but it was out of his hands. So, you can't... What I'm trying to say is you can't put the blame on Ollie for the deadwood and the contracts of the deadwood. Because if the evidence is out there, Mourinho said it about Fellaini, we saw it with Martial, we saw it with Herrera. Herrera walked out the door and Ollie couldn't get him to stay because they'd messed it up before Ollie came in. It's not the managers who do the contracts. It's the same old prats who try to buy players. They single-handedly have messed this club up over the last 8 years. I know there's blame to be apportioned to Van Gaal and Mourinho and Moyes and Ollie to a certain extent. Managers must be scrutinised and ultimately managers lose their job because of results on the pitch. But God thank everybody who is waking up to the fact that this is not just about not buying a player. This is not just about not selling players. It's also about keeping crap players and not spending money, but spending ridiculous money on those crap players that you keep. It's recruitment, it's retention, and it's removal. It's the 3 R's, and they've messed up big time on all 3. Recruiting, buying players, removal, selling players, and retention, giving contracts to players that shouldn't be at the club. And that hat-trick has led to the situation we're in this transfer window, where we are absolutely screwed up, messing around with 10 days to go, yet again. And yet again, no matter what happens, no matter whether Sancho comes in or not, no matter what happens, and we will get Telles, of course we will, and we may still get Sancho, we may still sell a couple of players, but no matter what happens, this is yet another transfer window. Out of the last 8, I would say only 1, maybe 2 of the last transfer windows have we sat there and gone, that's not too bad. I think Mourinho's first one when Pogba came in, and I think there was a Van Gaal one where we bought loads of players like Daley Blind, etc. Every other transfer window, we've come away from it going, this is nowhere near good enough. And no matter what happens now, that's what's going to happen again. Mark, UEFA have just announced there will be 5 subs in the Champions League. We need to buy quality or we'll be at a disadvantage, says Happy. New contract equals desperation to recoup transfer fee, says 009 Roche. And also a super chat coming in from Man United List. He says the wage structure has been broken since 2013 when we gave Rooney 250k to 300k a week. The wage structure is broken at Manchester United, but it's also quality over quantity, Ian Doherty says, and this is true. We've got a very, very fat squad. Not that they're not overweight, but we've got a very fat squad full of... I mean, look at the bench last week. I'm boring myself here, but no Pereira, no Mata, no Lingard, all fit. No, I don't think Jones was on there. Rojo wasn't on there. Smalling wasn't on there. Romero wasn't on there. As I said this morning, about £30 million a year of wages, not even on our bench. We don't need these players. Most clubs in the Premier League will have a bench, but they won't have 7, 8, 9 players on 30 million a year wages, not even on the bench. So we've got a very, very fat squad. We've not been very good at trimming the crap off the squad, and we're paying the price because of it. And it's a very, very, very sad situation. I am going to do career mode today. It'll be a little bit later, Alman. Please smash a like on the video, everybody, if you're watching. So, yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 Manchester United against Brighton. It's a must-win. We have to win. It's nice to focus on a football match, but, God, there is absolute chaos in that football club. You know what needs to happen at Manchester United? Something huge. Like, they actually need to come in and sack people like Matt Judge and Ed Woodward and appoint a proper director of football. It'd be very easy to do, but they need to do that. If the Glazers do care about the club, they should do that. And look, it'd be very sad for people like Ed Woodward and everybody else. And, unless they want to come out and tell us what the real truth is, I'm sorry, you're the names that keep getting mentioned. Maybe you're totally innocent. Maybe Ed Woodward's like, I want to buy Sancho, but the Glazers won't let me. You know, maybe Matt Judge is there saying, I've got the money, but they won't give it. I don't know. We don't definitely know, but it's their names that keep coming up all the time. And at the end of the day, if you do get sacked, you'll get redundancy pay. And, you know, we're Manchester United. We want to be a football club. Mess. It's a mess. An absolute mess. And everybody's waking up to that mess. Have you taken a look at the people on the board? There are 7 Glazers and even the CEO of Tampa Bay Bucks, unlike clubs like Man City, Chelsea, who got former players and footballing people, says Marky. You know, I could say this forever. We make bad decisions because we're a business, not a football club. You know, I guarantee you, when we renew a player's contract, like a Phil Jones or a Juan Mata, we probably go, that player's worth 10 million. So it's worth keeping him on a contract rather than 10 million walking out the door. I tell you what, I'll love it. You know, they probably do have a list of their players and go, Juan Mata's on 8 million a year, but he's worth 8 million. I'd love to see you get £8 million for Juan Mata, and I would love to see you get £8 million for Marcus Rojo, and I'd love to see you get £10 million for Phil Jones. Their valuations of players are wrong. So they keep them because they're like, well, we don't want it walking out the door. But, well, you did it with Herrera. But, you know, it's full of contradiction. And when you've got contradiction, you've got a lack of knowledge. And when you've got a lack of knowledge, you end up with Manchester United over the last 8 years. A shambles. We're a shambles of a club. If we weren't called Manchester United, we'd be Maidstone United. We're not. We don't act like a big club. Not at all. It's an embarrassment what the institution that we love, Manchester United, is. It's embarrassment what goes on behind the scenes. And there is no quick fix. What do you do? What do you do when you've got so many players earning so much money that won't even be used? Ollie sends the clearest message out he can. You give these players stupid wages and you give these players stupid contracts. I'm not even going to name them on my bench. And then you tell me I can't have players to make my team better because you can't shift the crap that you've overpaid and kept at this club. That is a massive job that nobody ever takes into account. He's a manager of a football club who got us 3rd place trying to build something, knows what he needs to go to the next stage, but gets told by the people who've contributed to this, we can't buy you that player because we've still got all these players. But I didn't want them in the first place. I don't want them, and you paid them stupid money. Get rid of them. Well, I can't. But you can't have him. It's madness. Kean Day, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Anyway, I could go on for ages, but it is a farce, and that's just the way it is. Thanks everyone for watching. Football on Saturday. Look, let's see what happens with Tellez. It could be coming in any time, and I'll speak to you all soon. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, bottom right hand corner. Smash the like on the video. Keep your conversation going. Keep the pressure up. Keep retweeting these tweets. Keep exposing what the real issue is. We can't buy because we've got too much crap to sell. And who's that on? Again. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon.